Welcome to the Fashion Translator. I'm Claire, your host. Together we explore how AI and innovation are reshaping the fashion industry through creativity, technology, and global partnership. For today's episode, I'm thrilled to welcome Billie Whitehouse, CEO of Wearable X. Billie, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm thrilled to have this discussion today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for us to have you. Please introduce yourself and the company.
Yeah. So my name is Billie Whitehouse. I am the founder, CEO, and creative director of Wearable X. And Wearable X has been designing wearable technology built into apparel for the last 13 years, almost 15. And we specialize in using haptic feedback on the body and really using that as a way of translating not just data, but also experiences and delight onto the body in washable and tumble dryable ways.
Amazing. So in terms of the haptic integration, tell us a bit more about how that works with the app and how it enhances the experience.
Yeah, let's dive into the use cases. So this really is a haptic platform that is transferable across multiple different form factors, stretchability, sizes, styles. And specifically what we've been focused on in the last few years is how we can integrate it into activewear. Not just for yoga, but very much for recovery, for even things like Pilates, for helping with lower back pain. So we've made a product that does in fact connect to an app. And so it's a pair of yoga pants that are smarter yoga pants. Not only can they measure your posture, but they can guide you where to focus using vibration on the body. So when you connect the pulse behind the left knee, that connects to Bluetooth to our custom app that's downloadable from the App Store. And when that's connected, you then set your vibrational strength. And believe it or not, 100% of our customers use 100% vibration. And that therefore you can then get guided step by step to work through each pose, to learn that pose on your own terms, to practice in the confidence and the comfort of your own home. And then you can actually get the vibrational guidance on the body as to where to focus and how to move into each pose. So for instance, when you're in downward dog and you want to ground down through the back of your legs, you'll actually feel that vibration sensation, even paired with the audio feedback that guides you through the steps of how to move into that pose. And then at the end of the pose, it'll validate your pose. It'll look at the sensor values on the body and it'll say, yes, you made it into the pose, or please go back and try again.
That's amazing. Can you tell us some other use of this technology that you've been exploring?
Yeah, so we've been doing this a long time, and our beginnings are always very entertaining. We actually first started in vibrating underpants for couples in long distance relationships. And we were connecting couples so that they could physically touch each other no matter where they were in the world. And we did this with Durex, the condom company, and with a large advertising firm in Australia to begin with. We then took that to Durex China and we scaled that out. We also then built out a navigational jacket with the team back in Australia, where we use haptic feedback in the shoulders of a jacket to guide you where to focus so that you don't have to stare down at the map the entire time. And we even connected it to live sports data so that you could feel the sensations of your favorite team live as you were watching the game at home or in the stadium, and replicate things like heartbeat, adrenaline buildup, or chills down your spine when something nerve-wracking happens. And then most recently, we've been doubling down in how our technology in the yoga space could really help people who are recovering from pain. Myself, I had surgery this year and I had severe lower back pain after the surgery, and being able to use the product to guide you into the posture, to not have to go into a physical therapy office all the time, but to still have that confidence and that validation that I was actually getting into the pose correctly. And we actually saw that when people practiced this 3 times a day and they did one simple pose 3 times a day, they saw an average of a 16% decrease in lower back pain. And that was over a 1-month period.
Wow, that's amazing. I love the story. I love the journey. What got you into this in the first place, if we think about when you very first got into it?
Yeah. Well, I'm a designer at heart, by trade even. I studied design in Australia and then in Italy as well. Um, best best years of my life, probably the Italian ones are the most fond. Um, and then I know I actually got into knitwear when we were over there in Italy, and that in itself is a fascinating technology.
It is, it
And
is.
it is. And I really believe that, it's part of the foundation of why I became interested in this space. I honestly just started researching all of the new technologies that were enabling the design industry and the fashion industry. And I got excited about like four key areas, mass customization, this notion of like gamification in fashion, and then wearable technology. Oh, and I mean, I guess mass customization is in there, but I was even looking at like, could I buy digital printers at the time so I could do these custom prints? And I was very excitable. Um, then off the back of, some very, very interesting introductions, the Durex advertising team came to me and they said, "Hey, we've got this idea. Do you think you could build it?" And funnily enough, I already had a deck that was called Knickers in a Knot, Tie Them in the Right Spot. And
What's meant to
I just
be.
was like, yeah, I was like, well, here you go. I've thought about this before. I'd never thought about connecting it to electronics at the time. It was all very, manual. But I was thrilled to, be connected with the software team and the hardware team. And then, there were many hours of soldering and sewing into the night. And that really is what I would say inspired me to get into this in the first place.
Amazing. So you were in this hybrid space between fashion and technology since I think this is something that is growing more and more to combine the two, especially as we're getting into AI now. How would you say that this is impacting your business, or are you planning on integrating that? What's your perspective on this?
I'm very excited about physical AI. There is a huge curve of where this is going and what's been happening. And I think if I was to like refer to the CEO of NVIDIA's presentation at CES this year, he sort of said, we're in the age of generative AI. The
Yeah,
next phase is agentic AI. And then
yeah.
following that, and the big milestone is physical AI. And I couldn't agree more. I've been working with a company called Archetype AI, who I'm very excited about. And
Yes.
they really are a physical AI foundation model. Not just the model, but also the platform. So, like all the tools that someone needs to actually build this and execute this for their
Right.
specific domain. And that to me is really exciting. It's where wearables are headed. It's what the promise of wearable technology really was, which is how do we have contextual learning about you and your body and your data over time, over different devices, over where you sleep, over how your calendar works, over like where your phone has been that day, but make it meaningful to the individual, not necessarily the enterprise. Let's make it valuable to me as, an individual human, and let's allow me to ask questions of that data in natural language. I think this really changes the way we think about wearable technology, where it's not just a performance tool anymore, but it's
Yes.
really this lifestyle tool that has that contextual learning and that you can individually ask the right questions of because you know what you're looking for in that data. Someone else doesn't, but you do.
It's a very individual journey. I feel like you said, it's not only a tool, but it's becoming like a lifestyle partner. It's becoming something that you can use to then get to the next version of yourself faster than we would have years ago. I'm also extremely excited about where this is going. I've heard I was like the name archetype AI, like it came to me like when I was exploring in video generation and image generation and how we can play with creating the Allura, a virtual version of ourselves, and then build on that. I had no idea they were so involved into the physical AI. That's really a fascinating future ahead of us.
I agree. I think it feels like the inevitable future. And I don't think it's necessarily about who gets there first. And I think that to me is an old model of the Silicon Valley, foundation of go fast and break things. I actually think it's not about that anymore. I think it's actually about who does it properly and who does it well with the right meaning behind it. And, let's actually build something that's right for the world rather than let's just build it really quickly and then, let everything tumble down later. I think that I really hope that is ultimately what helps someone win in this next generation of AI.
I see it too. I agree with you because things are a lot more complex now than, let's say, when the internet was invented. There's so much more possibility and so much more room for creativity, like if you think about Lego, or even if you think about, I like the cake analogy, like if you have eggs and milk and flour and you give them exactly the same ingredient to two different persons, they will not create the same cake. It can be an entirely different result. And that's where mastery can come in, and like people that are able to think beyond the box and see and have these ideas that are, I feel like AI is giving us the keys and the possibility to create things that are so wild that now it's up to artists. There's something artistic about this, I feel.
No, I totally agree. And for me, it's about, AI for humans, not AI for automation. And that is like a unique differentiator. And I see that in the way Archetype is their direction is going. I think that is also really about deeply understanding the people that you work with, like your customers, a deep understanding of who these customers are. That is such an interesting challenge. I mean, I think for any company, right? We all have like personas of who uses our product. That to me is not the same as deeply understanding who your customer is. Like, why do they use your product? At what times do they use your product? When is it critical to their business? Those parts of the customer journey, I think, are ultimately going to shape how this is successful. And that's across fashion companies as well.
Correct. And would you say that within your company, this is where you're leveraging AI as it currently is the most? Because we know, we see the future where you're going with the physical AI, but like right now, would you say that this data with the customer, is it where you're getting the most use of the AI at the stage it currently is?
So I on a day-to-day basis, I use AI multiple times. But let's start with the original status. Like, we built Nardi X originally using traditional machine learning, or what I'll call like AI 1.0, which is, classical machine learning models per size, per human. So from extra small to extra large, and per posture. So imagine how much data we needed, where it was, we have 30 different poses that someone works on. We have all of those sizes of humans, and we have male and female. Then there's also the possibility of someone putting on the pants incorrectly, doing the pose incorrectly. So there was a 6 months worth of data collection. That's a long effort. What I love about these foundation model approaches is this generalized model that doesn't take that much data, so that it can move really quickly and that you can honestly interact with in a way that makes sense for your business. I gave this example at a presentation yesterday. I said, there are pros and cons to this space right now. One of the pros is, AI does allow us to go way faster for particular efforts than ever before. It used to take me 15 hours to do a deck that I really cared about. If I was building it from scratch and it was something that was deeply meaningful to me, now I can do it in 15 minutes, which is wild.
Remember.
Yeah, you remember. I build decks constantly. That's part of what you do as a CEO. And that is wild to me, of just the amount of time that has given me. And yes, you still spend, once the shell is there in 15 minutes, you still spend, a long time building it. But instead of it taking weeks, you can do it in days.
Yeah.
And I think, that's probably the day-to-day use for me at the moment. But then, I know that people upload their health history and ask questions about, build me a food plan based on my characteristics and what's been going on here and my latest doctor's report. And I've actually asked ChatGPT that very question before.
The possibilities are endless. I also get the AI involvement in every facet of my life. I think we are just getting started. It's just the tip of the iceberg, and it's like I feel like it's still just a baby. It's going to be so fascinating to watch it grow and see how it transforms businesses. I feel it will also.
And it's a design tool too, right?
It is. It's a design
Yeah.
tool. It's a growth tool. It's an efficiency tool. It's useful in more way than we are yet to know.
This is true. This is, as you said, it's just the beginning. We have a long way to go.
In terms of like where your vision for Wearable X, we spoke about like the physical AI, like this direction, but in the other sphere, like is there other things you're excited to expand on with the company? Maybe different markets or.
Yeah, most definitely. We have that, I think of any company like mine, you'll probably work on 100 different products. 5 products that come to market. There are still 95 in the backlog. And of that 95, I'm always excited about all of them, but there's a couple of favorites, of course.
Yeah.
I think we've built some prototypes out of a breast pad for mastitis that uses heat and cooling paired with vibration to stimulate the milk ducts, so that when a woman is going back to work after having breastfed for 1 month, 2 months, if they choose to breastfeed, this is so that you don't have that pain, you don't have that buildup or that backlog of milk when you haven't been able to pump as regularly. And that doesn't even happen when a woman just goes back to work. That just happens when a woman is running around looking after her child. And so this is something that we're like in the midst of doing some user research and gathering some more information. And, that is something that is in the potential pipeline. There's also, sometimes we talk about doing less complex products, slightly, more traditional apparel. And so there's actually a large amount of samples that we have. And we're considering doing a one-off sample sale at some point in the near future to see everyone's interest in those products and just what resonates the most.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a good way to get a feel of this. Like it could be such an interesting complementary side of things, to have a regular line of product. So Billy, I think we covered so much, and yet I could be talking about this topic for hours. But thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, it's a pleasure to chat and to meet a kindred spirit who's excited about this space the same way I am.
Thank you so much.